Drink it in, man.
Detroit Koolaid, what's going on, everybody? We were away last week, holiday weekend, July 4th. We are back, and we, just like every week, we're going to dive right into some football talk here. So I got Grifka on the other end of the line. Grifka, what's going on, man?
Same old, man. What's up with you?
Another day, another day. We're glad to be talking some football, and, man, we are a couple weeks away from training camp, man. Can you believe that?
Getting close, man. Getting excited. Getting real excited.
That is just the best, to go down to Allen Park and see this football team come together, both there and in the preseason, and then kick the real games off in September. So everybody out there, Koolaid Cast, today we are getting down to the dollars and cents of the NFL. We are going to start a little series here. We're going to talk about one offensive group and one defensive group. And instead of just talking about players and this, that, and the other, we're going to talk about who's playing at that position, what their contract looks like, probably dip into their ages a little bit, and then kind of look at how does this shake out when it comes to roster construction, who's a great deal in regards to their contract, who is a guy that we might need to think about moving on from here in the next near future, next year or two. So, it's just something over the last couple of years. I know Grifka, I sent him some things and we kind of looking in, but the last couple of years I've really dove deep into some of these numbers. And it's when it comes down to both your contract and how old you are, those are two really important things in the league. And then the third thing, of course, is can you play? And if you got three of those all going for you, if you're on a great contract, you're young and you can make plays, they're going to keep you around. If you don't, you might be looking for a job or working at Mickey D's before you know it. So, Grifka, are you ready?
Yeah, let's get this started, man.
Everybody, we're going to dive into running backs here right off the bat. I know we've talked about running backs in the past, just about general players and some of our general takes, but today we want to talk about all the things I mentioned. So, Grifka, looking at kind of the roster along with these contracts, the first name I've got on the list here is Theo Riddick. Theo signed a 3-year, $11.5 million deal here recently. His contract expires in 2020. And he's set to make $3.8 million this year at 27 years of age. What are you thinking about Theo in regards to those numbers and what he brings to the table?
With those numbers, with the contract he signed, what he brings to the table, that is a great price range for what he brings to this team. I mean, I know he can't be a workhorse, but still, I mean, he can he can't go through the tackles every once in a while, but he pass blocks really well. He catches the ball out of the backfield really well. I mean, this is a guy, I think he's a necessity to the team, especially at that price range and that age. I still think based on what they've tried, I mean, I know at times they've tried to make him the feature, but it just doesn't work out. The guy still has plenty of tread left on the tires. And based on his age, like you said, his contract, he's through 2020. I wouldn't walk away from this guy anytime soon. This would be a guy that I would definitely try to keep on to the end of the contract. Depending on where he's at, what he's been doing, maybe, I don't want to talk extension because that's still a couple years away. Something you'd have to worry about. But this isn't a guy based on what they have coming in, who's on the team now. I wouldn't even look at the guy as a possible trade, piece or anything like that. I like where he's at. I like his contract. I love what he does. I've told you before in past years, I always thought he was the best running back on the team. I'm not saying that now, but I like where he's at, and I'd keep this guy.
All right, Grifka, on previous podcasts, we've joked about you've got some taglines and some funny things that you bring to the table here on the podcast. And I want to break out one of my favorite taglines right now, which is, I'm going to have to fight you, Grifka, right off the bat. This is usually what happens the first time you reply to one of my questions here. So let me start off by saying I love Theo. Theo's one of my guys. Theo is a dynamic pass catcher. But when I looked at this number and I thought, okay, it's 2018, 2019, and 2020, this guy's making anywhere from 3, and that's going to escalate it up to 4, probably 4.5 towards the end of this deal. I'm a little shaky on it. To me, Theo Riddick, he's a scat back pass catcher. We tried him to run him the last year or so when we had no one else, and he really didn't pop off the page. Now, does he make some great touchdowns inside the 20, when he's given the football? Yes. Has he ever made any real huge plays that I can remember just jumped off the page, not too many. And $4 million bucks, if you look at NFL running backs, I know I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of schooling here in some of these contracts, but when you look at 3.8, you think it's good maybe compared to other leagues and other sports, but really 3.8 at the running back position. I mean, Carlos Hyde got 5 this last year, and I mean, people were like, wow, that's a pretty hefty good number. I think the top running back maybe makes 8, 9 at the most. So Theo's in the middle of the pack, and I don't know if I'd put him there as far as running backs overall talent or just where you want to allocate your money. So I love the player. I don't love the money so much. I like the age, 27. Give me another year or two of him. I'm fine with that. But he is creeping up towards that 30 number. So Grifka, I just presented my case that I like Theo. I like what he brings, but he's on my radar as far as a guy that you got to watch out for as far as his number in the next year or so could be, I mean, it's weird. He could be a cap casualty at nearly $4 million there if he doesn't produce the way we hope, or maybe this new coaching staff needs to use him differently. But I'm a little bit on the other side of the coin, even though, like I say, one of my favorite players on the team, and I really hope they split him out, use him all over the field catching. But if he's going to play a part-time role and make $4 million and creep up to 30 in the next year or two, that's not good. So that's my take on Theo. Let's move on real quick to a guy who's on a total other end of the spectrum, a guy that we took in the second round, traded up to get him, Kerryon Johnson, 21 years old, everybody out there. He is locked up till 2022 at only $1.5 million per. So this is why you build through the draft, Grifka. Before I get your reply, I'm just going to tell you again, when everybody says you have to build through the draft to win in the NFL, it's because you get guys like this for 4 years, $6.5 million bucks. I mean, are you kidding me? Pay this guy $1 million or $2 million for the next 4 or 5 years? That's how you win championships. So if Kerryon's everything we hope he is, that's going to be a great piece to have. I love the age, I love the contract number, and I love what he brings to the table. What are you saying?
I'm with you on that. Rookie contracts are the greatest thing in the world, man. I mean, you always hear those things like, oh, this team's doing this, they're so great with this, when they have a bunch of guys with their rookie contracts and low contracts like that. This guy could definitely be a key piece to this offense for a number of years to come. My biggest thing is with rookie running backs, we always hear about those. We always see about those. We always see those ones that are supposed to be all, wonderful, great. They turn out maybe be like flash in the pan. They show a little bit here or there, but they can never really put anything together. Now, recently, it seems like we've had some rookie running backs, Leonard Fournette, Kamara, Kareem Hunt have really jumped off the page and put up some good numbers. Am I hoping that out of Kerryon Johnson? Definitely. I really am. Do I think he can be as good as those guys? No, but of course, I love his contract. I love if they're going to use them, expect them. If they're going to use them like everybody's expecting them to be used, maybe not be the workhorse right out of the gate, but maybe quarter into the season, third of the way of the season, he starts taking more carries away from LeGarrette Blount. Yes, then definitely. I mean, this is a guy that's should be around for a long time, but once again, just an unknown commodity being a rookie.
And the craziest thing about the NFL, Grifka, is that like back when the Lions were picking in the top 5 every year when the contracts were ridiculous for rookies, yeah, that killed you when you busted somebody out. But now everybody talks about like, oh, in the first, second, third, fourth round, you have to hit. Like in my opinion, I almost be swinging for the fences in these first few rounds because let's say Kerryon Johnson somehow gets hurt or isn't what we hope he is. Like you're not even losing anything at that point, You're losing a couple $1 million and a high draft pick, but to me, you're not getting killed like you were back when you're guaranteeing. What did Stafford get? $70 million on his rookie deal guaranteed? I mean, yeah, you miss on that, you're basically done, which we did a lot of times back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And now it's almost like it doesn't matter. I don't know what these rookie deals or what the owners, how they got this amazing setup, but man, you get these guys at such a cheap price, and man, do I love the age of 21. I mean, when I look at the draft now, that's one of the first things I look at, especially at this type of position. You know how short the lifespan is of a running back. So when I see a 21-year-old guy coming from the SEC that has been a workhorse, but like you said, doesn't even need to be one here, can just be a piece player at that number for that long, woo, man, I hope he's going to be all he's cracked up to be. And even if he's not, I know he's a great chess piece with all those things going in his favor. So love Carry On this year and think that he can be an absolute beast. Moving on. This is one of your favorites, Griffin. No, actually, this is a guy that I've tried to stand up for and a guy that, man, I still see some glimpses, but we're going to talk him through right now. And that's Amir Abdullah, 25 years old. Back when he was a rookie, signed a 4-year, $4 million deal. I think we got him in the mid to late second round there. Again, I think on a trade up. And so he's around only $1 million this year and free. After this year, he's free. So give me your quick take, Grifka, and then I'll give you my thoughts on Amir.
You said quick take, correct? I just want to make sure we got this right, because here's my quick take. Trade piece. It's on you.
All right, thank you. We have talked about that in the past.
Here you go. A little more. I'll give you a little more. I'm just messing with you. To be honest with you, the running backs I see on this roster, the guy's been given his chance. At this point, I don't care what he makes and like how little he's worth. I'm reading spots where he's going to be like a kickoff returner. I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know how great that is. The guy's had fumble problems, man. That's this guy streaming down the field at you, and you're expecting this guy to hold on to the ball. So if they're planning on using him as a kick returner to try to get him on the field and use his agility and speed, I don't really see him coming out of the backfield at all. So for like what he makes, trade this guy for a 6th round, 7th round pick. That's my take. That's on you.
Okay. Again, gotta fight you. I don't agree. I'm looking at this number, and we need some depth at the running back position. This guy has never really made the type of plays and put up the numbers at all that we had hoped. He makes $1 million, Grifka. He's 25 years old. He can catch and he can run, and he was productive in college. In my opinion, I don't mind keeping that guy as my 3rd, 4th, even 5th running back on this football team, even if he's returning kicks, an occasional scat pass out of the backfield, a swing route. To me, he's almost too good to let go unless somebody comes clamoring like, I don't know, Buffalo. They could come calling, and I would be glad to deal him up. Hey, Buffalo, now that I got you over the barrel, how about I might take a 4th, 5th, and be happy with that. But just giving him away for 6th, 7th, I mean, I'm not a fan of that, because as long as his head is on straight, which I don't know that it is, I'm totally fine just to keep him as depth, injury insurance, and a guy that people still have to worry about a little bit. I mean, I saw a few glimpses last year where I thought, man, why doesn't this guy make plays? And it was mostly because he can't break a tackle, and he can't hold on to the football, as you said, and he's just never made a dynamic play. I can't tell you a 50-yard run this guy's ever had, maybe one that I can remember. So even though I'm saying all that on his production, based on the age of the player, the upside of the player, the contract of the player, and the fact that if we keep him around and we don't have any bad injuries and he doesn't play much and he's gone next year, then he's gone next year. So Amir Abdullah, I'm keeping around unless somebody comes calling. And before you know it, there's going to be more injuries and more issues in the NFL. So I'd love to see him get a chance somewhere else if we can get something for him, or keep him here for depth. So that's my take.
Oh, no, man. I'm trading that guy for a bag of magic beans. That's all there is to it. I don't care his price tag. Guy's had his chance. See you later, Holmes. Time to cut.
See, that's where you don't get it, Grifka. You don't get the dollars and cents, bro. It's all about what you make, your age, and why are we going to cut a guy loose? What's a 6th, 7th rounder going to get you, Grifka, when maybe mid-year your boy Theo's hurt, LeGarrette Blount realizes he's 31, and then what? And then you got a 7th rounder, and you're sitting there going, oh, I wish maybe Amir could have done something, but you dealt him away for beans.
Hey, wait. Like you said, I wish Amir would have done something. Even if he was on the team, I'd still be saying, hey, I wish Amir would have been able to do something. He's been there before. We put our faith in this guy before, and something always turns up. He gets hurt by a stiff breeze. Some guy like slaps the ball out of his hand and he's chasing it around. Like you said, he goes down easier than Kevin Smith. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's just.
But Grifka, what you don't realize is, like, I've been telling Hughes this for years. The reason I'm so high again on the Lions the last few years is because all these players that we used to make starters and used to be, oh, that's our guy. once you add depth and once you add better players, they bump down a peg or two. Amir Abdullah was brought in here to be the next Barry, the next great running back. And we knew off the get-go, probably after that first few preseason games where he shocked everybody, that he was not going to be that. Well, now he doesn't have to be. He can be a third, fourth, even a fifth running back that still is way better than most teams' fifth, because you bumped him down. Like, if he's our starter, I agree with you. I'm annoyed by his production, and yes, he doesn't have it. But does he have it as a third, fourth running back in the NFL? I think so.
Okay.
On this team, and I think he could be good somewhere else if he was gone there. Maybe he wasn't the guy, but he was number 2 and he was used right. I think he could be good.
Okay. Reasonable minds can differ. I can live with that. You're still my boy. We just disagree on this front. That's all there is to it.
Okay. All right. Well, let me toss it to you. We got a couple more backs here, 3 more that I got here on my page. Pick out one. We got D-Wash, we got Blunt, and we got Zach Zinner.
Well, let's do this. I mean, we know Blunt's going to be on the team. They obviously signed him. They're not going to cut him, so let's just skip him. Now, really, who's getting...
No, we're not skipping him.
So why'd you even throw it to me, man?
LG, we got you. We'll come back to him. Okay, pick someone else, Grifka.
Okay, well, let's put it this way. You're forgetting about our vaunted fullback, rookie fullback, Nick Bawden. We drafted him late. Are we going to keep him? That's my question to you. I'm going to throw him to you. What do you think? Rookie contract, what, 6th round? Will we keep this guy as a fullback?
Okay, I was waiting for the Grifka tagline. Will we keep him? Yes. Should we? No.
No, that's a legitimate question.
You didn't deliver.
That's a legitimate.
You didn't deliver at all. It was softball to yourself.
Whatever.
You threw yourself a softball, Grifka.
Hey, those things are like eclipses, man. They don't happen often, but when they do, they're very special. So just don't be expecting it.
Okay. Man, yeah, I didn't have Nick Bawden on the mind because he supposedly tore his knee off like a month ago, and I haven't heard peep one since. And then I heard a rumbling the other day. Oh, he might be all right. He's working out. He could be okay. Maybe Matt Patricia isn't saying anything because this guy might play after all. I don't know. To me, he's a fullback. I didn't really love the pick, but then I saw pictures of this guy, and he's got the crazy hair. He's got the crazy eye black. He's a big old beast, and he says he likes to hit people. So I really liked that about him, and I thought, hey, if we can turn into a bit more smash mouth, whatever it takes. But yeah, I think he's either on IR or just, practice squad or whatever for the year. I don't like Belore, the linebacker turned fullback. I've already seen what he can do, and I'm not a fan. I'd rather like him as a real depth linebacker, to be honest. But Nick Bawden, I'm fine with now that we drafted him, keeping him around, and I think he'll be a hammer, once given the chance, but I don't know that you'll see anything from him this year.
Okay. So we'll go back to what we had. That was a little side note there, but between Washington and Zenner, I mean, I don't think both are going to make the team. I think one of them will make the team. If I was to choose between which one would make the team, coming out of camp right now, based on if they were to keep Abdullah, and they have Theo Riddick and Johnson in the mix, the guy I would have to say would be on the outside looking in would probably be Washington then. I mean, because what they would use him for, they would use Amir Abdullah for the exact same thing. So they're pretty much the same running back. So that means Zach Zenner would be in there once again. Everybody loved him. He's one of those guys. He shows like a flash here and there, but there has to be a reason why he's not starting or higher up the depth chart. But based on,
he's not starting because he's Zach Zenner.
Hey,
I mean, this is the NFL. He's lucky to be on the team.
Hey, I agree with you. I see all these people clamoring for him. It's like, Zach Zenner had 60 yards in the first half. How come they didn't give him the ball anymore? Because they put 10 guys in the box to stop Zach Zenner, okay? I mean, there's a reason why he's not getting the ball. But the same can be said for, Washington. I mean, he's had those runs too. Those Tyon Green last year, he had 60 yards against the Ravens, and all. He's cut. He's not even on the team anymore. But if there's one of those, like I said, between those two, if there's a guy I could see staying, it would be Zach Zenner, simply because he has dual initials, and he probably goes to all those Lions, fundraisers, when they play like at Oak Park High School against like the Oak Park Cops against the Detroit Lions, like Zach Zenner's like the big star that goes. So when everybody goes wild to get his autograph on their jersey and take pictures with him. So that's why he'll make the team.
Did you just justify Zach Zinner saying he has double initials? Is that what you said?
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
That factors in for you?
Hey man, there's nothing wrong with double initials, man. I'm not double initials, but there's nothing wrong with it. It sounds cool. People go nuts, and you can make cool signs out of it, like ZZZ, I'm going to sleep or something like that. I don't know. So,
Oh, Grifka, man, we gotta get you together, man. None of this stuff that you bring up matters, man. I'm looking at the numbers right here. I've got D Wash as 2 years younger. He makes half of what Zenner makes. He's locked up for an extra year longer than Zenner. Give me D Wash all day. To me, this guy looks like a physical specimen. Dwayne Washington looks like he's been in the league for about 8 years and is just perfect running back prototype. He's shown flashes, and he's also just looked like a total bum after I got excited about this guy.
Yeah, he's
but man,
him and
I'm
Amir
keeping
Abdullah.
him.
Him and Amir Abdullah are the same running back. Amir Abdullah just makes more money. I mean, they may even be the same running back. They may even be the same person. Do you ever see them standing next to each other on the sideline? No. I mean, they could be the same running back. I mean, really.
No, Grifka, have you watched the Lions? And do I have to kick you off this podcast? Have you ever watched this team? Have you ever seen Dwayne Washington in a uniform?
Yeah. And
you have?
Yeah, I've seen him.
And you think he's a clone of Amir Abdullah?
They do the exact same stuff. They do the exact same thing. I mean,
Grifka,
they're the same running
Dwayne
back.
Washington is 6'2", 200 and almost 30 pounds. You know what Amir Abdullah is?
That has nothing to
to
do with their skill sets.
You said they look the same. They're almost the same player. They're totally different.
They do the exact same stuff.
Like what?
They do what? They're both supposed to be like kind of workhorses. Neither one's supposed to be fast. They both have a little bit of quickness. They're both supposed to be quick kick returners. Neither one of them really catches the ball that well out of the backfield. They do the exact same stuff.
Oh my goodness, Grifka. Even if you're not looking at size, but I have to note the fact that Amir Abdullah is 5'9", like 200 pounds. So this Dwayne Washington, who you think is a clone, is 30 pounds heavier, 3 inches taller, and he's fast and physical, and he can catch. Like, he's a totally different player than Amir Abdullah, and I love what I see from the guy. You know,
Dwayne
the only thing
Washington
is I think his vision is bad.
Dwayne
Washington. I love what I see out of this guy, except his vision has been poor the last little bit. But you remember him breaking off kickoffs and breaking off big plays there for a bit, and then he went, I don't know, something went wrong. This guy's only 24 years old. I think he's a much better roll of the dice than Zach Zenner, and I don't think he's anywhere close to either the skill set or the type of player of Amir Abdullah. Amir's a scat back, juke type runner, and D-Wash is a one cut and go physical type. I mean, anyway, back to the point. Like, if you're asking me to pick between the two, I already broke down the reasons. 2 years younger, half the contract. Dwayne Washington's making $600K this year. I love what he brings in this. We don't have another running back with his size and type of ability. Like, give me D-Wash all day.
Okay. I mean, the dollar values you're talking here are they're in salary cap wise, they're pretty much in the same bucket. We're not talking, Dwayne Washington's salary against what LeGarrette Blount is making. We're talking, they're only a few $100,000 off. I mean, you're not. That's what it is. I mean, you can talk age, you can talk whatever. I mean, you're like, oh, he makes this amount less. Yeah, it's only a couple $100,000, and the whole salary cap scheme of the NFL, that's peanuts. It really is.
It matters, Griffith. In any other sport, yeah, it doesn't matter. You pay anybody anything you want. You have all these crazy, huge contracts. Every little bit in the NFL matters, man. I'm telling you. Like, you can't look at, it's a couple million. Like, that. No, that's what makes and breaks an NFL team.
You said couple million. Yeah, now a couple million's a little different. A couple million's a little different than a couple 100,000.
Zach Zenner, I broke it down for you. Zach Zenner, let me pull it up again here.
Okay.
He makes like 1.5, and D-Wash makes like 600.
That's 600,000. That's $500,000. That's once again, that's peanuts in the NFL and the NFL salary cap. Hey, I still want to be bros with you after this, so we're just gonna stop right here. Once again, Reasonable minds can differ. Okay, let's move on.
We can't end every argument like that. And I'm not hot, Griff. Are you hot? Do you want to? We got to slug this out after? Or what?
No, man, we're bros, man. We'll keep it like that.
Okay,
hey, man,
I'm totally good.
Hey, man,
but I'm totally here to fight you when you want to keep
we're just doing this for the
ZZ
show.
over a big old guy like D-Wash, and you don't even know you're acting like Amir and D-Wash are twins. It's not even close.
I'm saying their skill set's the same thing. Amir Abdullah's not a scat back. That's what they got Theo Riddick for. Theo Riddick was the scat back. Amir Abdullah was supposed to be between the tackles, break it off. He wasn't Javid Best. Javid Best wasn't. He was more of a scat back than Amir Abdullah. Amir Abdullah, he ran at Nebraska. He wasn't a scat back. He was up between the tackles, everything like that. That's what he was supposed to be. That's what he was supposed to be when he came to Detroit, because they already had Theo Riddick. That's what it was. Supposed to be your thunder and lightning type thing. That's what that was. So if you got Dwayne Washington, who's heavier, I'm sorry, he's bigger. Yeah, he's bigger, whatever. But if he does
bigger and he's fast.
But if he does the exact same skill set, why would you keep two guys that do the exact same thing?
Because they're both got way more upside and are way more NFL talents than Zach Zenner. I mean, as much as I love what Zach Zenner produced, he's going to go be a doctor somewhere. Good for him.
Hey, I'm not calling Zach Zenner the next Barry Sanders. I'm not calling him the next Billy Sims. Hell, I'm not even calling him the next Ron Rivers, But, I mean, if the guy there was a reason why Dwayne Washington was behind Zach Zenner on the field. There was. And it wasn't because Dwayne Washington had by it, I say. There had to be something that the coaches saw that we didn't see. I mean, yeah.
I agree, but we're talking dollars and cents, ages, and talking about roster construction. So
okay,
you're keeping double Z for his initials, and I'm keeping a big old beast at 6'3", 200, and has upside.
So if they cut, just out of curiosity, if they cut Zach Zenner, what's his dead money? What do they still owe him?
I don't know if I have that in front of me, but I mean,
I thought it was zero. So if they cut Dwayne Washington, what do they owe him?
Zach Zenner has a cap hit of $1 million. I don't know. D-Wash has got, like I said, he's to 2020. So, if you cut him,
spaced out over a couple years or whatever.
You have a little bit more, but anyway, I'm just thinking, like, putting together you're saying they have the same skill set. I'm saying, I'm looking at trying to find probably going to keep 5. Would you say 5 or 6?
I mean, it depends on if they keep that fullback. If they keep the fullback, then, I mean, that's what we're looking at there.
So I do want to talk about LeGarrette Blount, but if I'm keeping 5 backs, I'm thinking I feel pretty good with Carry-On, LeGarrette, Theo, Amir, D-Wash, just from an athletic size, youth standpoint, and you're not killing yourself with any of those contracts. I mean, to me, that's the bigger swing instead of keeping Zach Zenner, because he's decent on special teams and because he can make a few hard yards here or there, which I know is part of the NFL. Like, that's the other thing we're not really talking about today or looking at is, when it really comes down to roster time, you do almost need a gunner, more, guy in the kick team, rather than what could D-Wash be? Was he the guy we saw glimpses of his first year, or is he the bum we've had the last year where he just couldn't make plays? I mean, I don't know. Okay. But I'm just telling you that's kind of my setup. So let's jump into LG, LeGarrette Blount. To me, I was surprised when I pulled him up. He had all that talk when he first signed. Oh, he signed for 1 year, $5 million. What a terrible contract. And then everybody dug down, and it was really $2 million with a bunch of incentives. Right. So I got it here on my sheet as 2 flat for this year with all those, and performance bonuses and stuff mixed in. 31 years old, though. But, man, I was listening to something recently, and I guess LeGarrette Blount, for as big as he is, which let me pull up his size again. His size is ridiculous. I think he's like 6'4", 240. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, he's a big boy.
So, that's way bigger and way more physical than we've ever had in a Lions uniform for a long time. And the contract's not bad. The age isn't great. But when I was listening, they said he's got the best elusive rating, which is like a new rating by Pro Football Focus, the last, I think it was 3 years, something like that. which is crazy to think because everybody paints him as this banger, but really he can bang a little bit, but he's really actually good at making people miss and breaking tackles when you look at it. What are you thinking about LeGarrette Blount, Grifka?
Yeah, I was kind of that same way when they first announced it. I was like, we signed him for what at his age? And then, like you said, once it got out, it's like, no, it's this and that's an incentive that you could reach that. I was happier with this signing. To be honest with you, I was happier with this signing, the amount they paid, the way they structured the contract, than when the Lions signed Reggie Bush. What they did with him in his contract, his was more guaranteed money than it was, incentive wise. So I really like what they did with this. This guy, obviously, with his age, and I remember him at Oregon, and that Oregon offense they ran at that time was still a little more. It was spread. And so, yeah, he was elusive there for a big guy. He wasn't just the guy that would just give him the dive and run up the middle. He did have quick feet there as well. So to hear that stat that you just said, it doesn't surprise me. Maybe it surprised me more with his age. You'd think maybe somebody a little younger would have a better rating than him. But I could see that out of this guy. I mean, if he plays hard, if he wants to be here, and then I love the signing, especially, like you said, at the $2 million this year. They're obviously not going to cut him, so you're not going to have any dead cap, because they want this guy around. But you're right. I mean, he is getting a little longer in the tooth for running back, but I'm not quite for sure. I know he split time in a lot of places, but I don't know if that means he still has a lot of tread on his tire or not. But I love the sign, especially at the $2 million, especially what they did to make him want to earn that extra $3 million. I could see this guy getting the ball a lot. So.
Right, and you hit it on a great point. So the one I want to focus on just for a second is my thing with LeGarrette Blount has always been his attitude and, does he play hard? But since he's come here, just the want to be here, the love for Matt Patricia, he's won a couple Super Bowls recently, so he brings that leadership. So all those things roped into the $2 million, and not having to worry about, is this a team and just bank his paychecks. I don't have that worry with LG, and I think between him and our two lead backs, in my world, if you have those other guys all working as both pass catchers, scat backs, and also, maybe the roll of the dice on Dwayne Washington, to me, man, best running back group we've had in a bit, and I still don't think it's that great, maybe compared to some other squads out there, but as long as we can get some yards, maybe a big play here or there, and what I want is the play act. I want to be able to run it enough to where we can fake that run and throw the football downfield. And I think LeGarrette Blount, just the worry about him running up the middle or having the feet like you talked about, and the new rookie and people we have. And like you said, we ran down all these contracts. I mean, the top guy in the group is LeGarrette Blount at $2 million. Everybody else is either on a rookie deal or a low contract. So we definitely are doing kind of the Patriot way or the new NFL way, which is keep them all young, keep them all cheap, rotate them in, and hope that you can produce.
They got to be hungry. That's what I think the Patriot way. They get a lot of guys that are hungry. Yeah. They want to win. I mean, they have that. The Patriots have that mantra now. It's just like they're always going to be good. I have a better chance of winning with them. So you get those older guys who maybe haven't won yet, or they want one more chance to it. So they go there and they go get the ring. I'm not saying Detroit's obviously nowhere near that yet, but maybe these guys like that, like LeGarrette Blount can lead other guys, to this team that, want that. It's like, hey, yeah, we got this. We got this mantra that, these guys are going to win. They're going to be good. So I really like that signing. Like I said, especially at the price tag. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, cool, man. We definitely broke down those running backs from top to bottom, had some good back and forth, and it's really going to be the reason I picked it right off the get-go here is I feel like we've talked about it before and I'm going to continue to talk about it. I think it's one of the top two most important position groups on this team, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows we want to get better in the run game, and I think they're working towards doing that. So, Grifka, we went pretty long on the running backs. We said we're going to talk D-line, which is our DTs and our DNs. What I'm thinking we should do right now is I'll kind of run through some of the main players, and then we can kind of just focus on if any big contracts jump out, if anybody we really want to see this year, rather than going player by player. What do you think?
That's perfect right there, because there's really only, based on who they got. There's really only a couple guys I think we really feel we need to talk about here. So, because there's a lot of guys that have cheap contracts right now with these guys. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, let's do that. We'll talk about a few main guys from their contracts where we think we should be with them. So I understand that.
All right. Let me run through a couple of our main DTs here, and then you can kind of rebut the whole group and kind of give your infinite words of wisdom, Grifka, from there. So we got Big Ashawn, only 23 years old, signed a 4-year deal for only $5 million total as a rookie. He's locked up here to 2020. He's only making $1 million and some change this year. We brought in Sylvester Williams, a bit older, 29 years old. He's on a 1-year deal with a decent number, especially for a DT in regards to contract-wise. 3.5 is what it says here. I'm sure there's ability to get out or some clauses in there, but that jumps out a little bit to me. Another guy that I think isn't on our radar but is going to need to be is this guy we drafted last year, Jeremiah Ledbetter, 24 years old. He's kind of like a DT that can move outside as well, inside-outside guy. He's only making $600,000 this year, and we've got him till 2021. So I'd really like to see some things from him this year. I didn't really see or remember much last year. And let me see. Nobody else is jumping off here from a DT perspective. So when we go out to the edges, we got Ziggy out there. Ziggy listed here as 29 years old. I know people always joked about that question mark, but I think he's right in that range. I feel like he plays younger than 29, to be honest. Making a big $17 million this year on a 1-year franchise type deal. Cornelius Washington, 28 years old, brought him in last year. Didn't see much, making almost $3 million. To me, he's a guy you need to see some more from. You got Deshaun Hand at only 22 years old, making $700,000 as a inside-outside type guy that we're hoping for some decent things from. And you got Anthony Zettel out there on the edge at 25, only making $600,000. I think he was in the, I want to say, 5th round when we took him, and have him for a couple more years. So those are some of the main players. Kerry Hyder, 27. He gave us that one good year. This number really jumped out to me. I know I'm throwing a bunch of names and numbers at you, Grifka, but Kerry Hyder, what would you guess his contract is? If you might have looked at it earlier, but do you remember what it was?
I think he was roughly making what, like right around like 600 or something like that. He was pretty cheap.
Yeah, $500K, which to me was surprising because I thought we'd either brought him in or that he'd be making, the couple mil or even more than that as like a guy that, yeah, he produced a year, but I didn't like his age or his number. But yeah, I don't mind him at all for that. And I hope he has a bounce back year, even though Achilles is terrible. So those are some of the main players. You can mention some other guys if you want, if I didn't hit on them, but kind of go through starting with DTs, what numbers you like, who you're keeping, who you're expecting a lot from.
I'm really expecting Ashawn Robinson to make a jump this year. I believe what they're going to need him to do. He was decent last year, showed some flashes as a rookie. There was a couple times it looks like he got pushed around a little bit, but I think that's more of going against guys that have been in the league for a while and have better tech, know the technique, know what to do to get, to, I want to say, for lack of a better term, trick people, to get the leverage. But I'm expecting him, they always say that jump from a rookie to the second year, that's like your biggest jump. So I'm expecting big things out of him, especially on his rookie contract. If he can produce like everybody's hoping he produces what he makes, that's obviously, we're sitting in tall cotton right there because he's the guy. He should be the guy that they hopefully build around for the future, especially where they got him in the second round. Sylvester Williams, I believe he's going to be.
Hold on.
So, I'm sorry.
I think you said Ashawn. I think in the D we gotta call him Hey Sean. Okay, go ahead.
Hey Sean. Okay. Sylvester Williams once again brought this guy in. Obviously, they needed somebody with Haloti Ngata going to Philadelphia. Sylvester Williams, he showed some stuff in Denver. I've heard some things about him. I've read some things. He might have a little bit, a guy that takes plays off here and there. maybe a little bit lazy here and there. That's just what I've heard. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen a whole lot of the guy just based on what I've read on the guy. Like you said, his contract though, 3.5. It seems like what I've read on, there's not a whole lot of incentive laden thing though. I mean, 3.5, it sounds like that's what he's going to get. It's not one of those. It's not one of those LeGarrette Blount. It's like, oh, this guy's only making actually 1.5 and he can get up to 3.5. No, he's all here for the whole 3.5. Generally, guys like that, like how me and you were talking before, I'm kind of more worried about, are you just here for the paycheck? Just put 1 year in, show a little bit of flash, say, well, I was better at here. I want to go sign somewhere else after this.
A good thing for him, though, is the coaching staff went and sought him out. They brought in some space eaters, and they thought he was the best guy. I think he's a former second rounder.
Yeah.
And they definitely picked him more so than he was already here, and they're just kind of stuck with him. So I think that's going for him.
Yeah. So, but like you said, with his contract at 3.5, is it decent? I mean, I don't think they overpaid for him. Like I said, I'm just more worried about like him. There's no incentive behind it. He's going to get his money. He's going to show up every Tuesday and grab his check. That's always kind of one thing I worry about, guys, when there's not too many incentives in the contract. And for last, like you said, last one, Jeremiah Ledbetter, he's cheap. Hopefully it's another one of those things where the coaches can turn him into something a little more, because based on, those three guys, that we're talking about right now, I know we've had this discussion before. Could they go bring in somebody else? They may do that later, but if those are going to be your three main guys, I don't mind their contracts. I'm just once again worried about, like I said, the Williams contract. Not a whole lot of incentive in it. It sounds like he's going to show up every. I don't think he's going to be, like you said, going to be the guy that come in and just come get his check every Tuesday. But if something starts to go a little south, he could be that guy.
Do you think Ledbetter can do anything, or is he just going to wash out?
Honestly, I think he's going to be more of a depth guy, maybe a rotational guy. If they go get somebody else, he's gonna be one of those healthy scratches. He could do
I remember
that,
like when they drafted him, he didn't have very high marks. He was just kind of like, oh yeah, he's a versatile lineman, but nobody was very high on him. But what's crazy to me as you're going through, or when I was going through, we really have no depth at DT. I mean, I know we focus on the edges, like who's going to rush the passer off the edge. Like we have two guys that are, one that's got upside, one that's old, and like you said, just kind of a space eater, and one guy that we don't think is going to make plays. Like I just don't see any other guys here unless they're going to drop Hand and Zettel inside a lot more. I mean, I don't know where your inside rushing and run stopping is going to come from.
Yeah, and like you said, if they may do that. We don't know what the defense is going to look like. They may not want to go with like that Patriots defense where they had that big rock in the middle that nobody can move. Vince Wilfork. If they're expecting Sylvester Williams to be that, I don't know. They might want that defensive line that's like quick. How the New York Giants, when they get into passing downs, they call it their 4D ends, where they just the whole defensive line just quick and get around the inside. If maybe they're trying to shoot for that, I don't know. Maybe they will run more of a 3-4 where you need just one guy in the middle taking up space and everybody's coming off the edge to try to get things. But you're right. I was looking at the same thing. I'm just like, gosh, you're right. Do they need to go sign a Jonathan Hankins, Alan Branch, Ricky Jean Francois? I don't know, because when I was running through this stuff, I'm like, that's all I got for DT. I mean, after that, you're looking at what? Christian Ringo. I mean, Toby Johnson. I mean, you're right. None of those guys put the fear in me of a pass rush or anything coming up the middle.
No, but real quick, since we are talking contracts, one thing, you probably remember my phone call years ago when I was all hyped up with Nick Fairley and Ndamukong Suh in the middle. I was like, oh, we're going to wreak havoc. This is incredible. and I still, like, that day and in general thought that, because they were both highly touted penetrating DTs. But what I didn't know back then was I didn't look at roster construction based on money like we're talking about today. Like, I don't care what production Ndamukong Suh had. I was so ready to move on at the end there, because in my NFL, in my world, you can't pay a DT $10+ million unless they're absolutely, the best defensive player in the game, like Aaron Donald might get. Otherwise, I like having these no-name, low-contract guys. And, yeah, hopefully you can get some push and penetration. But I'm kind of glad we don't have our money sitting there in DTs, because DTs don't make plays. Like a good DT makes 6 sacks if he's lucky, right?
Right.
Eight if he's a stud. That's not the production I want to be paying a bunch of money to. So I guess we have that going for us. And like you said, maybe Sly could play in the middle, shade Ashawn over to a side, and then have edge rushers out wider or coming from all angles. That might be a better setup than thinking we got to have two guys that are both 310 pounds in the middle there. So I'm cool with it, to be honest. But yeah, I wouldn't mind a veteran depth piece that could just make me feel a little bit better about him. But sorry to break in. Go ahead and talk some DNs or rebut on the DTs if you want.
No, I'm glad we agree on what we're looking at D tackles here. I mean, more so than I always know, like what they say, good TV or good radio is a lot of banter back and forth like we had with the running backs. But no, I like this. Me and you on D tackles sound pretty much on the same wavelengths there. Let's jump down to DNs right now. Since I don't think no use like continue to push something we both agree on. But DNs, let's start with like Ziggy. I mean, obviously this is a make or break year. I was reading something the other day. They're like, how is it going to be, good or bad? It would be good to sign him now, just in case he does go off and have a Reggie White year or something like that. Because then obviously we're not going to want to pay what he actually wants. So I don't know. I still think this is one of those things. If he has one of those years, and he wants a boatload of money, okay, it was nice having you. See you later. I mean, just that's based on, just his injury history. I mean, yeah, he had was 11 sacks last year or something like that, but most of them came against really crappy offensive tackles in 3 games. And he was non-existent in the other games. I mean, part of it was due to his injury, but I mean, he had 3 against the Giants, and I think the Giants had a cardboard cutout of a mascot out there at left tackle against him. And I think was it when the Packers, he had 3 sacks against the Packers, but one of it was the offensive tackle was hurt, so they put a garbage can out there or something. It doesn't matter. I mean, so that's my one worry about Ziggy. It's just he performed really well against some really average to below average tackles, and he got his numbers up, but he was non-existent in a lot of other games. So if it's one of those things, if he has a blowout year, has 12, 14 sacks, a bunch of tackles for loss, is always in the quarterback's face, and all of a sudden he wants to be paid he's the greatest defensive end, see you later. That's how I would look at it right there. Do I want to take the chance to sign big money for him right now? I wouldn't, because once again, there's no incentive for him to go out there and play then. He's going to make his money. He signed for a long-term deal. I mean, he's going to have a hangnail and want to take the day off, so that's my worry about Ziggy right there.
Here, hold on. I got to break in on a couple things, Grifka. First of all, everybody that's listening out there to the Koolaid Cast, I want you all to go back through our archives and listen and keep track of every time Grifka brings up Reggie White, because it's a classic. It's another Grifka go-to. Anytime a defensive player is good, he's a Reggie White. He's as good as Reggie White. I don't think it's Reggie White coming off the edge. It's unbelievable, Grifka. I bet you at least have 5 to 7 of those already in the podcast.
I do. And when we talk linebackers, you're going to be hearing a lot of Lawrence Taylor out of me too, okay? There we go.
Brian Urlacher, that's your boy too. You love him.
Hey, the guy was – oh, that's right. That doesn't make me a real Lions fan because I can't respect other players in their own division. So that's another tirade for another day.
You already confessed your love for Brett Favre personally on the podcast. Everyone sort of hates you already for that.
That's fine.
I don't mind
it. You should see a shrine to him in my basement, okay? There's a whole little Brett Favre corner with candles.
Oh, no doubt. So. I have no doubt in my mind because, like you said, the guy made plays, and I don't see anything wrong with it. But your love fest you had for him a few shows ago was pretty good. The other thing I want the people to look out for is this is the 3rd time, Grifka, on this podcast that you've teased the other Grifkaism, which is will he make a bunch of sacks? Yes. And then you did not follow through. You got to give the people what they want. Okay. I want at least one per show where you give that classic go-to. We got to make that happen.
Okay.
The other thing I want to say is when I looked at this age for Ziggy, 29, $17 million, I'm sitting here thinking as you're talking, I've always been a proponent. Me and Hughes have went back and forth of should we give him? And I'm always on pay the man. It's hard to find DNs. And he's always been if he wants a bunch of money, let him walk. Who cares? Now that I'm looking at 29, I'm almost thinking in my head, what do? Do you give him 2-year deal for a bunch of money and hopes he takes it? Because I don't know that I'm even comfortable giving him 4 or 5 years at that at that age unless he absolutely blows up. But I don't think of him as 29, right? I'm looking at him going, man, this guy feels like a 26-year-old guy to me when I see him on the field.
I mean, he was drafted a little older because when he went to college and when going to BYU, I think he was on one of those missions or whatever, like while he was there. So, I mean, he was a little older. So, when I saw his age too, it's just like, dang, really? Thinking, because you think Matt Stafford's only 30 and Ziggy Ansah's 29. And it's just like Stafford's been around, like it seems like forever,
decade.
And Ansah, it's like maybe because it was of his injuries. But, I mean, I'm in agreement here. I can't see giving this guy big-time money 5 years when he's 29, even if he blows up. I can't see it.
The other thing, Ziggy, no offense, the reason that we are surprised by your age and don't feel like you've been around as much or as long is because you're not out there very much. And so we don't see you that often. So when we don't see you that often, we don't think you've been here that long when you've really been here longer and you're older. So this is the year, man. You got to produce. And to me, that's another quick point I want to bring up of when we're looking at ages and contracts. It's almost the reason you skew away from those 25, 24-year-olds unless they're absolute freak talents, because by the time they're getting to this stage or getting to a second contract, I guess a DN can probably play till his, early 33, 34-ish is kind of where I'd be seeing they're probably going to tail off. So it's not like he's going to be done tomorrow, but that's why we go back to Kerryon and being so excited at 21. You can maybe get 2 running back contracts out of the guy when you get him at 21. If he's at 23, 24, maybe not. So yeah. And work the rest of the DNs for me. We kind of broke in there, but right. I gotta, the people out there, Griff, they want to hear the lines, and they just love your throwbacks to the 1990s.
Hey, that's what Lions football was. Lions football back in the 90s. But anyways, let's just go through the real quick ones here. The guys that we know are going to make the team that I love their contracts basically because they're cheap. I know we've discussed like Zettel and Hyder before. My biggest worry with these guys, I mean, they're cheap. They're cheap. They're young. I don't want to call Kerry Hyder an injury, obviously an injury risk every year simply because a lot of times Achilles are just freak injuries right there. But I'm afraid like Zettel and Hyder, they just may be other guys, like how we talk about, they're just guys on the roster. I mean, they might have a good game here or there, but you really don't have to you don't have to really plan your offensive line to okay, we're going to have to chip this guy or we're going to have to give this guy extra protection. I'm thinking that's my worry about those guys, that they just may be just other guys. And I know that's what me and you have talked about. The Lions do have a little bit of salary cap money out there. And I think they still got roughly $9 million left, to maybe go get somebody, even though there's not a whole lot out there. Like I said, I just worry that those guys are just other guys. Now Hand, once again, rookie contract. He's young. I remember when this guy was supposed to be the number 1 recruit in the nation. I think he just got caught up in the Alabama pipeline of everybody on that team's supposed to be going to the pros. But he never really busted out like anybody really expected to. So hopefully they can coach him up and he can be that guy that dumps down to the middle, because I know he did that at Alabama a little bit, jump down a little bit, maybe be that other D tackle. But just those guys' salaries right there, I mean, they're all pretty cheap. But the one I always wonder about is you hear a lot of things about Cornelius Washington. He's not making a whole lot. Well, around 3.5 I think is what it was. But still, I mean, it seems like when people question, it's just everybody questions, is this guy going to make the team? Does this guy have a place? And I'm just always thinking, well, he doesn't make a whole lot of scratch. I mean, as other people, I mean, I guess are they expecting Kerry Hyder to have that bounce back year, kind of like he had the year a couple of years ago? But if anything, I think for what Cornelius Washington makes, he brings good depth. I would like to see him stay around on the roster myself. What do you think about the DNs, Derek?
Yeah, I'm with you there, Griff. I kind of ran through. I guess the only guy I want to make a quick comment on is Sean Hand. There's a few guys I listen to on some other shows that are draft experts, and they really are not high on the guy. They say he's not a very good athlete. He's slow. He's never produced in college. Was a high recruit, but hasn't done anything since. So I listen to those guys, but I'm on the other side of the coin. I think kind of echoing what you said, that yeah, he didn't produce at Alabama, but he was probably to be more of either a rusher, or I've seen some explosive highlights of him. So I think that we have to sort of be high on this guy. And I knew that the Lions from day one. I'd heard all these rumblings. Oh, the Lions might be in for Deshaun Hand. Oh, the Lions met with Deshaun Hand. Oh, all of a sudden the Lions trade up for Deshaun Hand. So I connect all those dots, and I think they have a plan for this guy, and we might be pleasant. I agree with you too. I mean, there's not a bunch of playmakers on the edge here. We already talked about the guys in the middle. So this is an area of concern. Another reason we brought it up today and wanted to talk about it. So Grifka, with all that being said, man, here we are. We've had a great talking dollars and cents. Kind of bring us around on your end. Tell us, wrap it all together, what you're thinking about running backs and the defensive line in regards to their contracts, and what you're thinking for 2018.
Especially with running backs, I love where we are with the salary cap. I don't think we've overspent on any of them. I think we're in a good position with that, especially with like the years we have left on the contract where they're at. I know we had a little different opinion, like on Theo Riddick, based on what he brought to the table, what he was making, and which is fine, which is good. But I still don't think what his cap hit is against the team. I don't think it's that bad, especially for what he brings to the team. And with LeGarrette Blount, the incentive-laden contract, I really like that. It doesn't hurt this team. It doesn't strap us at all. It doesn't, hamstring us. It doesn't really, corner, doesn't paint the lines in a corner at all. As for D-line, D-ends, this is another one of those things. I mean, as we look at it, they got a lot of cheap guys. I mean, there's no Aaron Donalds on the team. There's no, Ndamukong Suhs. Those guys make a lot of money, a bunch of money, which is fine. Good for them. Congratulations. Go get paid. But hopefully the guys they got, like you said, they hunted out Sylvester Williams and looked at him even though his contract isn't really incentive laden. They must have seen something in him to want to bring him in, especially for that price for the 3.5. And I know Ansah, like we said, his age, injury history. It's the 1 year contract with the with him being the franchise player, and just based on his injury history, I can't see extending this guy big money out 5 years. But based on where we're at right now, I mean, we're still okay. The Lions are still okay with the cap, and I know we have some other positions we need to go through. I'd still like to see him maybe get another defensive tackle, and hopefully, they have a plan to, get guys off the edge, and maybe they got big plans for Kerry Hyder. So that's where I'm at with this team. Where are you at, Derek?
Well, cool, man. And Grifka, we're going to wrap up this segment. Everybody out there listening to the Koolaid Cast, we want to encourage you again. We're just starting this series on dollars and cents. So we're going to take an offensive side and a defensive side. We're going to try to get through these before we head to training camp. So our next episode, we're going to try to hit on I think we're going to hit on probably tight ends and safeties, Grifka. We might have the Big Hughes join us for that one. And if we keep an eye on your podcast feed, everybody, because we might be doing a couple extra shows rather than just our normal once a week to get through these. And when I give you guys more content, please go to DetroitKoolaid.com and check out the website we're building. Again, just kind of starting all this from scratch and working our way up, so having a bunch of fun with it and love talking football with you guys. So like we do every week, we got right into it. We talked a good amount of time this time about contracts, ages, roster construction, and we'll be coming back at you soon. So everybody, thank you for the support. Koolaid Cast, we're checking out. Later.
Pack the bag, start the plane. This game is over. It is over! What a comeback by the Lions! Drink it in, man!